Good morning, everybody. My name is Caterina Sampol, and during the last 5 years, I have been coordinating the TIQUE project. It has been a long journey requiring continuous and intensive work from all TIQUE stakeholders. A truly collaborative effort between project partners, contractors, healthcare professionals, and many other contributors, all working together to address a major challenge that still represents an important need for healthcare system across Europe. During today's session, we would like to share this journey with you. Before we begin, let me briefly share some practical information for participation in today's session. Please keep your microphone mute when not speaking. Second, please use the Zoom question and answers section to submit your questions during the event. Questions will be addressed during the interactive question and answer section at the end of this event. And if possible, please keep your camera on to encourage interaction and engagement. So, during the next 90 minutes, we will first introduce the TIQUE project within the context of the European Research and Development programs, explaining the challenge we addressed and the PCP process we followed in it. Then we will present the main results and innovations emerging from the project. In particular, we will share with you the two innovative solutions that were developed and validated in real-world environments or at Hospital Sant Pau in Barcelona, Azienda Sanitaria Locale in Avellino in Italy, and Region Västerbotten in northern Sweden. We will also discuss the experience, challenges, and lessons learned throughout this collective journey. After that, we will reflect on the impact of the project and the key lessons emerging from the validation process. And finally, we will look at possible future pathways beyond the end of the project funding. At the end of the session, we will answer the questions raised by participants and conclude with some takeaways from today's discussion. The TIQUE PCP project has been co-founded by the Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program of the European Union. Before starting, I would like to acknowledge the importance of this support received from the European Commission throughout the project. It is now my pleasure to invite Madame Hélène Le Borgne from the European Commission to open the session with a few words. Thank you very much, Madame Le Borgne, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for having me today. So indeed, I work in DG Research and Innovation of the Commission, and I'm also here on behalf of two colleagues, so my head of unit, Carmen La Plaza Santos, and my colleague, Ana Pia Papageorgiou, who is more than me in charge of pre-commercial procurements. But we are very glad to have your final meeting, to be with you and to listen to the lessons learned and impact you have. For us, PCPs are really critical instruments to help innovating within the healthcare systems and to support this transformation of the healthcare system. So it's a little niche instrument, but for us very powerful and critical for the future. We met most of the pre-commercial procurement project, or at least the coordinators, 1 year ago in a workshop we organized, also to get a flavor of the possible interest in further funding through Horizon Europe within public procurement of innovation, so-called PPI topic. Obviously, I cannot tell you now the results of this proposals submitted actually 1 month ago. But still, what I can say is that there was a lot of interest. So we had 9 proposals submitted, and I think I know that you came together with other PCPs. So it's good to see that this interest is really catched up, and we really hope to see in the future further impact from your project and similar projects to be further deployed in different healthcare settings. Could be at regional, hospital level, but also maybe a national level. So you are sort of the front runners, the pioneers, and we are very glad to have supported you, and we hope to still further support you in the future. So without further ado, I think I should just let you continue. But be aware, we are really eager to get the whole flavor of your work and to see also what you will yourself deploy further. Thanks a lot for having me, and I'll stay with you for the whole session in listening mode. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hélène. Now we will start with Dr. Mireia Puig from Hospital Sant Pau. He has been inside the project from the very beginning, also when we prepared the proposal that was awarded by the Horizon 2020. And well, she will speak about the challenge and needs that led us to this big challenge. Madam Puig, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Caterina. So, welcome, everybody. I'll try to outline the most relevant points we have observed with this project. First, the problem at hand. The advanced heart failure patient that is discharged of the hospital is the real problem that brought us to TIQUE. To understand why we need a change, we must look at the reality of the heart failure patient at the time of hospital discharge. Currently, there is a severe fragmentation in our healthcare system. We treat the system as a series of isolated devices: the emergency department, the ward, primary care, and force the patient to navigate through them. This is especially problematic for our frail elderly patients who represent a massive burden of the healthcare system. Because our system is blind to what happens outside the hospital, we only find out about their deterioration when they arrive at ED, usually requiring an admission. When primary care has a delay of up to 5 days to respond to a patient, we completely miss the window for early intervention. This cycle of hospital visits and late responses is the fundamental problem we set out to solve with TIQUE. Second, what the project forced us to rethink. While TIQUE uses technology, the project forced us to realize that technology alone is not enough. We had to completely rethink our organizational model and how we communicate. Relying on phone calls, emails, and long clinical text is neither logical nor operational. We had to shift our mindset toward generating structured information, clinical profiles, and automated alerts. More importantly, we had to change the paradigm of patient movement. Instead of forcing the patient to travel across different healthcare facilities, we needed an organization where various professionals interact with the patient remotely in their own home. Third, what we learned about in this pilot. During the pilot phase, we saw that what worked very well was the patient reaction. They embraced the empowerment that comes with having the data to control their own health. However, we also hit significant roadblocks. The greatest difficulty we encountered was the lack of social support at home. We can send doctors and nurses to a house daily, but without a competent caregiver, complex home care simply fails. Additionally, we recognize the serious risk of a digital divide. We must ensure that elderly patients with cognitive issues, visual impairments, are not marginalized by these new digital recurs. Fourth, why this matters to the system, why all this matters to the system, not only to the patient. While keeping patients comfortable at home is our clinical goal, this transformation is absolutely critical for the survival of the healthcare system itself. The marker for success here is the massive reduction in hospital admissions and emergency room contacts. Every single hospital admission we prevent by treating a decompensation early at home saves the system around 3,000 euros. Through remote monitoring, a single medical team can efficiently manage and control a much larger population of patients. These savings in resources and costs provide the financial foundation necessary to reinvest in the system long-term sustainability. And finally, what comes next from Hospital de Sant Pau? Looking ahead, our goal at Sant Pau is to make the definitive leap from theory to practice. We are already developing short-term social prescription pilot programs, like sending meals and cleaning services at home as a bridge the gap between health and social care. Beyond that, we plan to scale the TIQUE model to other chronic conditions, such as diabetes and COPD. Finally, we are strongly betting on artificial intelligence. It will allow us to move beyond standard algorithms to individualize treatments based at patients' specific age and history, and generate predictive patterns. Our mission is not just to measure patient data, but to build a robust model that transforms the healthcare system. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Puig. Now, after this challenge and big challenge, and which were our needs, Gaynor Whyles will summarize how we have been working during the TIQUE project during the 5 years. Gaynor, the floor is yours now.
Thank you so much, Caterina. Are you showing my slide, Guillem? Yeah. Okay. So many people who are listening to this webinar will be well aware of the PCP approach. But to be clear for those who may be new to PCPs, pre-commercial procurement is all about demand-led innovation to address societal challenges. Specifically, where research and development is needed to progress the state of the art and develop new solutions. A PCP is then, in short, the procurement of R&D services to overcome a market failure by communicating a previously unarticulated unmet need and providing the motivation for suppliers to develop solutions through an R&D procurement process and piloting and close interaction with healthcare providers. Next slide. In a PCP, companies are presented with a specific and detailed challenge, as we've heard, to create innovative solutions. And in the case of TIQUE, just to reiterate, the challenge concerned the unmet need for digitally enabled integrated care for advanced heart failure. And the buyers, in this case, health service providers, steer the development of new solutions through a competitive and staged procurement process, through solution design, prototype development, and finally, and very helpfully for suppliers, real-world pilot testing. Next slide. Innovation, and more notably system change, has been referred to previously, takes time. And this was a 5-year project, and I don't think we would have wanted it to be any shorter than that. And we began in 2021. The length of the project meant that we were able to take time at the beginning to ensure that the needs and requirements were clear, accurate, and that stakeholders were closely engaged from the start. And a key success factor for innovation is being clear what you're actually trying to achieve. Next slide. Project was delivered by a highly engaged partnership of 8 organizations from across Europe. Next slide. 5 knowledge partners providing necessary expertise and experience. And next slide. At the heart of the project, 3 buyers representing a diverse cross-section of healthcare systems and environments, from densely populated city environments in Barcelona through lower density populations in Avellino, and through to some of the most sparsely populated areas in Europe in Västerbotten. It's been a fantastic journey, and it's been a pleasure working with this fantastic group of people. And I'll hand back to Caterina.
Gaynor. This has been the first overview, the introduction to the session today. Now we will start with the second panel that will be conducted and moderated by Andreas. In this panel, we will have, first of all, our contractors in phase 3 that are Platform TIQUE and Viduet will present the two solutions. And then we will also share with you some clinical and user perspectives that have been collected during this period. Andreas, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Caterina. My name is Andreas Lundqvist. I'm the head of unit at the Swedish Center for Rural Health, a part of Region Västerbotten, as we've heard, one of the bioregions in this project. In this session, we'll hear more about the results and the innovations that have been produced or developed in this project. So we'll start the session with presentations from our the contractor presentations, and we will start with having Jaime presenting the Platform TIQUE solution. So Jaime, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Andreas. I will share my screen now. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Amazing. All right. Well, hello everyone. I'm Jaime Vallin. Thanks for being here today with me. I will present a bit by Platform TIQUE solution. First of all, let's see what we're talking about. What was the challenge and how we have addressed it. Okay, so the main challenge was optimizing the healthcare pathway for heart failure in order to prevent heart failure decompensations. In this sense, this prevention faced different challenges that can be all summarized as a fragmented care pathway. And there are different pillars explaining why this fragmentation is a real problem in the healthcare ecosystem. So this fragmentation has technical barriers, such as lack of integration of data systems and tools for monitoring patients and preventing decompensations. Also clinical barriers arising from the delay transition between care levels. Also lack of adherence, lack of follow-up of the patients after discharge, and also the absence of a whole integrated care system. Also, there are patient barriers more related to the knowledge they have or they might lack upon their condition. Also, the low capacity of self-management and low involvement in the decision-making along the pathway. And finally, communication and coordination barriers due to the inherent complexity of the multi-chronic and or multipathological process that hinders continuity of care. This combines with the nature of this fragmented care pathway. So this fragmentation is addressed by the bit solution that is not only a tool based on technical features, but also methodological, because it's surrounded by the paradigm of process redesigned orientation, and it enables the optimization of the process in a comprehensive way for monitoring of patients, actively putting the patient in the center and offering an holistic approach and continuity of care. In this sense, our solution is based on 3 technological pillars. One is the clinical tool for patients, for professionals. In this sense, is aimed for creating a collaborative ecosystem, receive alerts, view real-time data, not only from patient monitoring, but also from different clinicians, and also seeing the patient's clinical history. So it serves to track the patient status and receive alerts derived from our system. On the other side, we have the wearables, the monitoring kit, and the app for the patient, which is the central tools for the patient to better understand their status, to monitor data, and also learn about their condition through a learning center that helps them to create healthy habits in order to empower them and to make more decisions based on knowledge. Also, it tracks the prompts and prems to track how the treatment and care plan is going. And then finally, we have the key cornerstone of the virtual care center, the command center, which is a fundamental tool for transparent key indicators that helps us to follow up the healthcare pathway of the heart failure patients, and also the project's implementation upon these indicators. It is designed ad hoc inside the hospital rather than something external, and its principal value is to allow all implicated agents to access these indicators in real time and to make decisions upon real data and optimize continuously. Okay, so how we have implemented our solution. In this sense, we have established a standardized operational protocol that aligns with the existing healthcare pathway in order to facilitate first enrollment of the patient, but also the follow-up. In this case, we initiate the enrollment with the data extraction needed to configure the profile of the patient and the personalized circuit plan, which includes the stratification of the patient and also identifying each patient's needs and goals to establish a circuit plan and a network of care, which is based on configuring the multidisciplinary clinical teams and selecting the specific monitoring devices for each patient. This leads to set up everything for the patient to use our solution on a daily basis. And all this allows the data to be monitored, extracted, and visualized in the virtual care center, as mentioned before, where it fits the different models as stratification of patients as the small RR system, and ultimately to build a clinical decision support system that aims to build value based on three things: warnings through prediction of actions, prevention with actions taken by the case manager, and also personalization and optimization of care through collaboration of the different agents involved. All of this led us to learn many things along these years of the PCP. In a nutshell, we have divided in three categories. We have, regarding the technical aspects, we learned that it's key to focus on data quality rather than model complexity. Also to focus our design of the solution on task center in order to trigger adherence, and also focus on usability while avoiding addition of too many functions that can create confuseness and complexity to the solution when implementing. On the deployment side, we have learned that it's key to specify the learning and training sessions with role-specific tailoring. Also to have a really great logistics plan, as we have implemented in 3 different countries in Europe. This is also key. And also we learned to protocolize short feedback loops to adjust and to personalize functions or to incorporate feedback into our solution. And lastly, we learn a lot from the PCP process, as this is a unique way to create value that is aligned with the real needs of the healthcare system. Also, we have learned a lot of how to position ourselves between phases and how to overcome different barriers that they could arise along the way. And also how it's a key promoting tool for public-private collaboration that can nurture innovation from the real needs and from the real healthcare ecosystem. So how we have moved from a validated business plan to our current strategy to escalate this. Okay, so first we have established a co-design framework to scale towards other chronic disease and pathologies based on co-creation and co-leadership with the healthcare professionals, but also the IT departments within the proper healthcare ecosystem, adapting to the real needs, as we have explained, and the bottlenecks, and innovating from the real needs, especially within the healthcare pathway. Also, currently we are extending the pilot study in Italy. We have built a strong relationship with these partners, and we are exploring different potential collaborative projects. And at the same time, we're undergoing the CE marking certification process by preparing all the technical certification documentation. And after that, we hopefully will submit to the certification and hopefully towards market access.
Our solution is based on a multiple source data ingestion model that combines information from different origins: the monitoring kit, electronic health records, socio-demographic interviews, symptoms, PROMs and PREMs as reported through the app, as well as practitioner inputs introduced by clinicians. All this information is transferred and pre-processed into a centralized database in order to provide standardized, normalized, encrypted, and cloud-based data management. This ecosystem is integrated within our virtual care center, which is composed of a clinical tool for healthcare professionals, a command center for managing heart failure care processes, and the patient app, designed for monitoring, data visualization, and patient self-management.
Now, let's see how it is implemented in the daily clinical practice. It all begins with potential patient with heart failure that has shown interest after being introduced to the TIQUE project. Then the patient is invited to an initial medical appointment for enrollment. During this visit, the study is explained in detail once again, the informed consent is signed, and both the remote monitoring process and the patient clinical pathway are initiated. In addition, the different functionalities of the app and the monitoring kit are introduced and explained to the patient. At this stage, clinical data is integrated and a patient interview is conducted in order to collect socio-demographic information. For this purpose, the clinical tool platform is used by the case manager, who registers the patient into the system. Several data points are introduced to facilitate integration with existing healthcare system records. Documentation related to the study pilot is uploaded, and socio-demographic information is collected through an interview to support patient stratification, optimization of the patient journey pathway, and sharing the shared care plan with the multidisciplinary colleagues. Once enrolled, the patient registers and accesses their profile within the app, where they connect the different monitoring devices. An initial measurement is taken with each device in order to verify the connection and ensure the patient understands how to use them in their daily routine. In addition, the patient receives supporting materials such as infographics, magnets, and educational resources to improve understanding of both the devices and their condition, as well as the overall project. After all data sources are connected and the patient begins remote monitoring, daily measurements are performed and symptom questionnaires are completed twice per week. PROMs and PREMs are also collected every 15 days. All this information, together with clinical data integrated from healthcare systems, contributes to patient stratification and enables continuous follow-up of both the patient journey and the care process. The command center acts as the main layer for providing transparency into patient status through follow-up indicators and KPIs, while organizing all patients within an intelligent alert and prioritization system based on risk and stratification. This enables clinicians to quickly and efficiently review their patients on a daily basis. If needed, they can access the clinical tools to make adjustments, contact patients, or modify the patient pathway and care journey accordingly. Beat, monitorization, follow-up and optimization of heart failure clinical process.
Right, and that would be it. Thanks everyone for listening, and Andreas, the word is yours.
Thank you, Jaime. Thank you for that excellent presentation. It's been a pleasure to work with you also in the project. We just wanted to mention that. Before we head over to the next solution, I would just like to inform you all that there is a question and answer solution available in Zoom. Please use that function. We will have a Q&A session in the end of our webinar, but if you enter your questions through that system, we will answer them in the end of the webinar. So please do that. And moving over now to the next presentation from one of our contractors. We'll have Esme presenting the TIQUE-V solution. So Esme, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I hope you can see my screen now. Is that correct?
We can. Perfect.
Perfect. Well, hello everyone. My name is Esme Steiger, and I'm a project manager at Viduet Health, which is a company based in the Netherlands and the provider of the TIQUE-V solution in the TIQUE-PCP. Viduet participated in the TIQUE-PCP as part of its commitment to advancing digital scalable solutions that improve the heart care for heart failure patients. And a key motivation for us for joining the program was the opportunity to test and validate integrated care in real-world healthcare settings. And through our involvement in the TIQUE-PCP, we strengthened our platform both clinically and technically, validated our approach in practice, and further improved interoperability and integration capabilities. The TIQUE-V solution provides a self-management and telemonitoring platform for patients and healthcare professionals. So we have a platform, a dashboard, Viduet dashboard, where healthcare professionals can monitor and support patients remotely. And we also empower patients through self-management by enabling them to monitor vital signs such as blood pressure and weight, with results automatically shared via the Viduet app. One unique key element in our solution is our heart failure action plan. And the heart failure action plan consists of 4 phases, each providing patients with instructions on the frequency of measurements and questionnaires. And this action plan is designed to prevent decompensation and manage symptoms for this patient group. With our heart failure action plan, Viduet enables early identification of clinical deterioration, and by combining symptom tracking, home measurements, and alerting, the platform supports proactive interventions by providing real-time feedback. This helps clinicians detect warning signs at an earlier stage, optimize treatment adjustments, and potentially reduce hospitalizations. But this action plan is based on the following measurements of weight, blood pressure, and heart rate, and the symptoms of decompensations are gathered by questionnaires. The action plan functionality developed within TIQUE is universally configurable and forms the foundation for scalable care pathways. When reflecting on the main challenges during the TIQUE PCP, several important themes emerged, and I would like to highlight a few of them. To start with the time-intensive patient inclusion process, patient enrollment and onboarding remain intensive, requiring significant coordination and time investment for healthcare professionals such as the case managers. Therefore, there's a high dependency on the capacity of case managers and also the technical support demands. Continuous technical support is required during and after the onboarding to ensure healthcare professionals can effectively use the platform. Next, we also saw that to reach the full potential of integrated care, there is a need for clearly defined shared responsibilities and collaboration frameworks across departments. And differences in digital maturity and how hospitals can organize cross-departmental workflows can also create implementation and adoption challenges across countries. Lastly, adapting existing clinical workflows and driving behavioral change among healthcare professionals remain a key implementation challenge. At the same time, these challenges also provide us valuable insights leading to the key learnings that helped strengthen our approach and implementation, as we focus more on the implementation workflow optimization, the improvement in patient adherence, taking country-specific implementation variability into account, and most importantly, making sure that our platform is flexible, scalable, and locally adaptable. When considering our future perspective, our next steps focus more strongly on integrated care. Integrated care was implemented and tested differently across the participating countries within the TIQUE PCP. And as a result, our long-term vision is to contribute to an integrated chronic care ecosystem that connects primary and secondary care providers within and across regions. This focus also reflects our experience during and after the TIQUE PCP, where we placed increasing emphasis on primary care implementation while mostly testing our solution in real-world settings in secondary care. As a result, we have been able to establish multiple collaborations with large regional primary care organizations across different provinces in the Netherlands. Moreover, we're also exploring further collaborations in the UMC Utrecht and Groningen. Furthermore, through these new collaborations, we also aim to expand beyond heart failure care, as our platform is designed to support a wide range of chronic conditions, and it can be configured for diseases such as diabetes, atrial fibrillation, and other long-term conditions that require structural monitoring and follow-up. We also focus more on comorbidities within our platform. Lastly, I would also like to highlight some of the key features of the Viduet platform through a brief demonstration. I will show you a video and talk you through the platform that we're showing. What you will see here is the video of the Viduet dashboards for healthcare professionals. And here first you will see the patient overview once you're logged in. You're able to adjust this overview to your liking according by setting different column settings. When you click on a patient, you go to the patient dashboard. And this gives you information about the patient's health status through different so-called widgets that you see here. For example, on the left side, you see the recent measurements widgets, where you can also click on the blood pressure measurements, where you can get more information through either a table or a graph on what their measurement results are. So at the top, you see blood pressure, and below you see, for example, the heart rate. On the right side, you see here the widget for the action plans, where separate action plans are configured for this patient. And you can either activate them by clicking on the green button and select the date for which you would like to start the action plan. On the left side, you see recent questionnaires that are filled in by the patient, the target values set specifically for this patient, the bulletin board, which shows you some notes and where you can communicate with other healthcare professionals within your department or outside your organization that all have access to the same patient. And below you see some user information and the active devices for these patients as they use a scale and also a blood pressure monitor. When we go to the inside page, you can see all the measurements that are performed by these patients. And this allows you to compare different measurements on the same day as well for this patient to get an overview of their health status on one day. On the right side, you also see all the available questionnaires that are filled in and color-coded based on the answers that they have given. You're also able to view statistics of the total patient population and work with a messaging center. And this messaging center allows you to work with multiple healthcare professionals in your own departments. On the right side here, you can see a screenshot of a phone where I would like to give you an impression of what the Viduet app looks like for patients. So here they can see the action plan itself and also the phase they're in, so they can have more information about the phase and what they have to do when they're in that phase. They're also able to see the measurement results and click on that to see, for example, trends of their blood pressure, their weight, SpO2 as well. And they have also a schedule page where they can see what they have to do that day, so we can improve their adherence and help them guide through the app and have this as a routine in their lives. I hope that with this short presentation, I was able to give you an impression of the TIQUE-V solution that we have developed within the TIQUE-PCP. And of course, feel free to reach out also after this event if you want to know more about Viduet. And last thing I want to mention is that we launched a new website last week, which will be available in English by the end of this week. So also please feel free to visit that website if you want to know more. Thank you.
We will have first the case manager from Sant Pau interacting with a patient. We will only see 5 minutes of the video recording. If you want to see the rest of the interview, which is very interesting, it is available in our YouTube channels. And then after, we will have a patient from Västerbotten interviewed by Andreas. And they both will share some of the impressions of their experience in participating in the TIQUE pilot in both places, Sant Pau and Västerbotten. In our YouTube channel, you will also, by the way, is TIQUE PCP YouTube. You will find other very interesting interviews that highlight some of the aspects of the project. And also you will find, in brief, some patients from Avellino who has also participated in our pilot.
Och välkommen till den här intervjun. Vem är du? Var bor du någonstans?
Jag är en 76-årig dam som bor i Storuman. Och jag har ju lite problem som vi alla har när vi blir äldre. Och främst de med hjärtat, har högt blodtryck. Och sen har jag problem när jag ska gå lite grann. Så det, ja.
Nej, men jättebra. Skulle du beskriva det som att du är orolig för din hälsa?
Det är klart, när det gäller hjärtat, blodtrycket, då är man ju orolig. Det är man, och det är därför jag har gått med i den här gruppen, det här, för att få testa och se om det kan vara någon hjälp framöver eller vad som händer.
Jättebra. Hur gör du i normalfallet när du blir sjuk och söker vård? Hur gör du då?
Ja, då ringer jag ju sjukstugan som jag bara har med bil, går i 10 minuter så är jag där uppe. Och är det större problem, ja men då blir det Lycksele. Och dit kör jag inte gärna själv, känner mig lite osäker. Så då är det mina barn som ställer upp, skjutsar mig. Eller också om det är möjlighet så tar jag bussen, för det går någon buss som går fram till lasarettet i Lycksele. Men det är ju lite krångligare.
Hur långt tar du till Lycksele?
Ja, ungefär 10 mil. Och sen är det Umeå, då är det ju 23. Och det är ju det stora lasarettet. Ibland är jag ju remitterad dit också.
Hur upplever de det? Perfect. That was the first video of the interview with the patient here from Västerbotten. You had the pleasure of us speaking Swedish, but I hope you saw the subtitles, that you were able to follow in the interview also. So, Guy, are we watching any more recorded interviews, or what? How should we proceed?
Let me try again. If not, we will share it later at the end of the.
Clar, jo sé que en altres hospitals el projecte ha estat integrat dintre del que és o la unitat d'insuficiència cardíaca o el que sigui. Jo he sigut una persona extra en aquest equip. Llavors, si jo fos la infermera de la unitat d'insuficiència cardíaca com ho era abans i em sumes tota aquesta feina, doncs no es pot gestionar. Almenys amb la càrrega de feina que tenim aquí a la unitat d'insuficiència cardíaca. O sigui, les infermeres de la unitat de por si no poden gestionar això o tirar-ho endavant soles. Necessitarien una altra infermera, o dic una per dir un número, que sigui l'encarregada només de telemonitorització, perquè aquí, a l'hospital, el que fem és les dues infermeres fan consulta compartida, consulta de cardiorenal, consulta de refractària i consulta d'infermera normal per titular. Llavors, no hi ha cabida en fer unes hores de seguiment de telemonitorització perquè se'ns passarien moltes coses. Eren com moltes coses i com unes hores molt concretes de tenir temps de poder fer el seguiment. És veritat que com hi havia molta gent que ja em vaig fer un perfil de cada pacient de les possibles descompensacions, doncs més o menys ho vaig poder controlar. Si ets una persona de les dues que estan avui en dia treballant a la unitat d'insuficiència cardíaca, implantar això sense que hi hagi més personal, jo no crec que sigui factible. A mi el projecte em sembla meravellós i crec que les plataformes realment han intentat remar a favor lo máximo que han podido. Crec que la població nostra, hi ha una part, com podem veure, que és ella, que s'ho ha pres molt en sèrio i ha sigut la més complidora de totes, però és veritat que tenim un perfil de gent molt gran, amb una patologia molt avançada, que es troben molt còmodes amb l'estructura que hi ha actualment a l'hospital, perquè són visites presencials, ells es troben còmodes, es crea com un ambient molt familiar, normalment ens coneixen de la sala i després ens coneixen a la WIC, vull dir, els hi fem un seguiment molt proper i ja està, i és molt maco, però el que fa és que tinguem unes llistes d'espera molt denses. Llavors, com a projecte, crec que no és que sigui útil, és que és necessari i imprescindible. Però en el nostre cas, hi ha un tipus de perfil de pacient molt concret que és el que se queda, com diguéssim, en tierra de nadie, que és quan surt de la sala i no passa per la unitat d'insuficiència cardíaca, no se'ls fa un seguiment. Llavors, normalment els pacients se'ns descompensen sobretot a les 3 primeres setmanes. Aquesta gent faci un seguiment abans de que tinguin la visita en el CAP, aquesta gent sí que la podem tenir molt controlada. La resta, o gent que se li hagi donat d'alta de la WIC i que torni, o sigui, que hagi de tornar al CAP, que passen com uns mesos i tal. Llavors, aquesta gent sí que es sent molt més acompanyada. Aquí es donde yo he visto que es el filón de tipos de pacientes que necesita. Crec que seria... Bueno, a nivell hospitalari crec que és complicat que puguin destinar recursos a poder fer això. No ho sé perquè tampoc ho tinc molt clar. El que sí són els feedbacks de la gent del meu voltant. Vull dir-te, jo soc infermera, tinc un paper i ara torno a la meva estança. I jo he intentat una mica veure, perquè realment confio molt en el projecte i a mi m'ha agradat molt i hi ha pacients com ella que no volen deixar el projecte, però és que tenen un fin. Llavors, bueno, jo he preguntat si això podríem començar a tirar endavant i és veritat que potser o no és el moment o no hem donat amb el tipus de pacient.
And I would just like to end this session by saying that I hope that you now have a little bit of a feel about how these solutions look and work and how they feel, and you have had two perspectives from both the patient perspective and from a clinical viewpoint. So, and as Sophia said, please visit our YouTube channel if you want to see more interviews, more recordings of different perspectives. So feel free to do that. And with that, I will hand over to our next panelist, who will be Rossana, I think. So Rossana, over to you.
So now we are going to look at the impact and lessons learned. And I will do it together with, first I will now go through a session regarding the impact assessment and value generated. Then Sofia Moreno will bring to us the key lessons learned of this procurement innovation. And finally, we will have Carla Alvarez from TIQUE Salute that also will share with us the policy implications of TIQUE. So thanks for joining me now. And then I will start to go through the impact assessment and value generated. Okay, as we were mentioning before, we have three main buyers in TIQUE. We have the Hospital della Santa Creu Sant Pau, that is a Catalan hospital, it's a tertiary hospital, was already introduced by Caterina, Sampol, and Mireia Puig. By the way, I think it's important to understand that they are here just with a few highlights to avoid, at the end of the day, avoidable hospitalizations, focusing on the primary, secondary prevention strategies related to medication management and medication-related health problems. And so this TIQUE model is supporting Hospital Sant Pau on the early identification of adverse events related with drug and the improved adherence monitoring. While then we have Region Västerbotten that already was already exactly previously presented. And in any case, with Västerbotten, we have exactly this Swedish Center of Rural Health that is a predominantly rural territory with long distances between population and center and healthcare facilities. And they were looking at, in TIQUE, concrete evidence that virtual center-based models are feasible and desirable. And this is a similar situation for the local health authority Avellino. We are in Italy. Again, we have a predominantly rural territory. We have dispersed population, small villages, high distance from hospitals and specialized centers, and looking at how virtual care center model can support integrated home-based follow-up and care. So we have completely three different realities from the north to the south. They define together these key features, integrated care, right time, right place, technology enables, personalized, participatory, predictive, value-based, and flexible. They build together the virtual care center concept. But again, their applications is different, and how they are going to apply it is different. So when we are looking at the pre-commercial procurement design, we are looking at also how they're envisaging the application after the PCP. And this was very well explained already by Gaynor. So every time that we design this kind of procedure, and TIQUE has been one of the very first one that support us to put together this methodology in the value-based procurement. We need to look at the end of the day what is the ultimate impact to be generated. And since we have completely three different buyers with completely three different business models, the ultimate impact to be generated is different, although the solution is very similar, although the solution is a common solution. So we need also to look at who is impacted. Not only the patients are impacted. We were looking at now with the interviews, but also the case managers, the nurses, the healthcare professionals, also with the Mireia Puig intervention. So we are not looking just we are looking at the social care. We are looking at who is impacted from a multidisciplinary perspective, because we are going to have three different transformations. The transformation we are going to have in Sant Pau is different from Västerbotten, is different from Avellino. And each of these transformation, if we want to achieve our long-term impact, we will need to know how to define the results we want to achieve little by little, looking at the long-term vision, how we want to go in the mid-term vision, and then what we can achieve in the PCP, in the pre-commercial procurement. What are the short-term results that then will support me to move on? Because we want to adopt a value, and we need to determine if we can adopt this value. And to make this happen, also in TIQUE, we went through the literature. We went through the integrated multi-morbidity care model proposed by the Joint Action CRODIS. We went through the roadmap design to support integrated care for older persons living at home, designed by Sustain. We looked at the value-based healthcare definition. We look at Michael Porter, clearly, the health outcomes achieved matter to patients relative to the cost of achieving those outcomes. But also we went beyond this because we had an hospital. So we look at the European University Hospital Alliance, what they said regarding value-based healthcare, what we said in Catalonia, in the literature, what the European Commission said. In fact, the concept of value-based healthcare defined by European Commission goes beyond Porter and remind us that we need to look at not only the appropriate care to achieve patients' personal goals, personal value, but also we need to look at the achievement of best possible outcomes with available resources, technical value, equitable resource distribution across all patient groups, allocative value, and contribution of healthcare social participations and connectedness, social value, societal value. So we cannot forget all these values that we need to look into the equations. And finally, we assess it, we also determine who was assessing the value generation at which stage, when, how, what level of evidence do we need. We are in pre-commercial procurement. So right now, for us, the value generation is that we can develop, in a feasible, sustainable way, financially sustainable way, all the requirements that were needed by our buyers, but also that we could look at that we can feasibly implement it in our own sites, so in Sant Pau, Västerbotten, in Avellino, and that we can be prepared then to demonstrate the midterm value, the value-based healthcare transformation in these 3 sites. So also to start to collect, to create this benchmarking, to create the repository for the data, or how we collect the data in a way, then we can use it for benchmarking later on and say, look, if we implement TIQUE solutions, we can demonstrate we will deliver the value. And clearly the level of risk that can be taken by each of these buyers. So finally, when we are looking at this in TIQUE, not only we're looking at phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, clearly we're looking at the final commercial deployment and the public procurement information fruit of the pre-commercial procurement, and we can already design the call for tender, as we did in TIQUE, looking at the requirements, what value we bring, which of the requirements, what the criteria, how we monitor the contracts and how we pay, how also we put together the template for the bid, and also the expertise and evaluation of how we monitor the contracts. Always take into consideration that we need to deliver value to the patients, to healthcare professionals, healthcare provider, because at the end of the day, in Hospital Sant Pau will be the one to adopt the solution, and health system. This could be the case of Västerbotten or the local health authority in Avellino, and the socioeconomical impact. And TIQUE has been one of the very first contract that we used this methodology. So it was we created together with TIQUE this methodology. So I think that this is one of the main results from this project. Thank you very much. And now give the word to Sofia. Thank you, Sofia.
Sofia, you are mute.
Thank you. Thank you, Rossana. Thank you, Guillem. Well, first of all, I will share with you some of the key lessons that we learned from TIQUE PCP based on the challenges that we face and how we respond to them and what we would recommend for future PCPs out of that. For us, sorry, it's not now. Please stop sharing. It's Rossana who is sharing now. For us, the most important conclusion is that the PCP is not only a mechanism to develop and test innovative solutions, but very, very important. It is also a way to prepare healthcare organizations for future adoption. And this is one of the key things that we have been developing and going deep in TIQUE. Rossana, could you please share again the presentation? And today I will focus on 3 main lessons: evidence, implementation, and adoption. The first challenge that we have addressed is what we call the evidence clock. What does it mean? In healthcare, generating evidence takes time. And there are many possibilities to accumulate delay in the execution of a PCP. It's ethical approval, site readiness, and many others. And all this could compress the effective pilot window. This reduces the time available to collect the operational evidence from the pilots. Well, in our case, we planned some contingency time, and we could activate a control extension which allowed the pilot to finally collect the evidence that was expected. But the key takeaway for future PCPs is that the evidence generation should be managed as a structured risk management process, and contingency planning and evidence milestone need to be anticipated and integrated from the outset, rather than addressed at the final stages. The second challenge was the workflow fit. Both solutions showed value, but scalability did not depend only on whether the technology worked. It depends on whether the solution could be embedded into the clinical workflows. And these include interoperability in a broad sense with existing system and procedure, onboarding, training, alert management, the capacity of the virtual care center or monitoring team, etc. So our response was to focus the assessment not only on the technical performance, but also on the capacity to align with the operational aspect. The lesson here is that public buyers should not only procure a platform, they should procure a care pathway that can actually be implemented. The third challenge was the adoption gap. Even when an innovation is validated, it does not automatically become part of the routine care. Large-scale adoption requires governance, budget alignment, a clear purchasing authority, incentives, and change management. In TIQUE, we position the PCP as a preparation for a future PPI, and the PCP helped reducing the technical and conceptual uncertainty. But the next step has to focus on the adoption and institutional scaling challenges. So, in summary, the biggest risks were not only technical. There were evidence risk, operational risk, and system adoption risks. Based on these lessons, I would like to highlight 3 recommendations for future PCPs. First, design for implementation from day one. This means that the challenge brief should not only describe the clinical needs and the expected technology functionality. It should also include workflow requirements, training needs, support capacity, interoperability expectations, business modeling, procurement ownerships. If these elements are not considered early, the project may produce a good solution that could be difficult to adopt. Second, use value-based evaluation as a compass to indicate the way to move on. In TIQUE, value was not understood only as a technical performance. We looked at patient experience, clinical outcomes, professional satisfaction, care coordination, adherence, and potential organizational and economical impact. This is very important because future procurement decision needs evidence that is meaningful for the healthcare system and not only for the technology providers. And third, prepare the bridge to PPI early. The transition from PCP to adoption should not be improvised after the pilot ends. It cannot be. Public buyers need to think early about the adoption pathway and strategy, the budget logic, the risk-sharing model, the governance structure, the change management plan, etc. So the message I would leave is the future PCP should be designed backward from adoption. Think on adoption first, and then design your PCP and process. PCP helps us validate, and PPI would help us to adopt. Only when the adoption is properly planned can innovation really scale and become transformation. It cannot be improvised afterwards. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now I give the word to Carla Alvarez from TIC Salute, and I will mute myself again, give the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sofia, for your presentation.
Thank you very much for your attendance. My name is Carla Alvarez. I'm the head of public funding programs at Fundació TIC Salut Social, which is a public entity within the Catalan Ministry of Health, focused on promoting the digital transformation of the healthcare system. And today I would like to briefly present the vision behind TIQUE, and especially the policy implication of this PCP initiative in supporting the adoption of scalable integrated care solutions across European healthcare systems. So next slide, please. TIQUE started from a very concrete and urgent healthcare challenge. Across Europe, healthcare systems are facing increasing pressure linked to advanced heart failure, multimorbidity, and complex chronic conditions. These patients often require continuous coordination between hospitals, primary care, social care services, and so on. But in reality, care pathways are still highly fragmented. What makes TIQUE different is that the project did not start from technology alone. It started from a system need. The objective then was first to understand the real needs of healthcare professionals, organizations, and patients in daily clinical practice, and then explore how integrated care could be supported through more adaptable, interoperable, and scalable solutions. And this is exactly why the PCP approach was so important. In TIQUE, procurement was not used simply as a purchasing mechanism, but as a policy tool capable of guiding innovation towards real public health priorities. Instead of waiting for the market to independently develop isolated products, public actors work together to define functional requirements, organizational expectations, and long-term objectives from the beginning. In other words, this PCP approach helped stimulate the market towards solutions already aligned with healthcare system needs and European priorities. And another key aspect of TIQUE is the replicability by design. From the beginning, interoperability, adaptability, and integration into real healthcare systems were considered essential requirements. The objectives was never to create another isolated pilot, but rather solutions capable of scaling across different European healthcare contexts. This aligns strongly with the broader European transition towards integrated care, digital interoperability, and shared healthcare standards, especially in the context of the European health data space. So overall, TIQUE demonstrates how a clinical and organizational challenge can evolve into a scalable public value strategy, combining innovation, integrated care, transformation, and European collaboration. But of course, the next challenge is mobilization. How do we engage policymakers, healthcare networks, and public authorities to ensure that these solutions move beyond pilots and become part of real healthcare transformations across Europe? Next slide, please. One of the main lessons from TIQUE is that innovation alone is not enough. Healthcare systems do not adopt solutions simply because they are technologically advanced. Adoption only happens when innovation fits within real organizational processes, professional workflows, and healthcare system priorities. This is why TIQUE focused strongly on value-based innovation. The project looked not only at technology performance, but also clinical value, organizational impact, and long-term sustainability. Once again, the PCP methodology played a central role. It allowed public healthcare actors to actively shape innovation according to system realities and care delivery needs. Through past development, co-definition, and pilot validation, the project generated practical knowledge about what can realistically be implemented, integrated, and scaled. Another very important dimension is the European scalability perspective. TIQUE was developed through collaboration between multiple regions and organizations, ensuring that the methodologies and solutions were not tied to a single healthcare structure or local context. By working across different realities, The project generated transferable lessons on integrated care redesign, interoperability, and service transformation. And this is especially relevant today because European healthcare systems are increasingly moving towards coordinated care models, interoperability of health data, and more sustainable approaches for chronic disease management. So in this sense, TIQUE is not only a technology project. It is also a practical example of how healthcare innovation, public procurement, and integrated care policy can converge to support real system transformation across Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Carla and Sofia, for your intervention, and thanks you again to all of you for working together during all these years. I don't know if you have questions in the.
Thank you, Rossana. We have a short last panel that will be led by Sofia, that is the future pathways and the question and answer you were introducing. Thank you very much to you all. Thank you. Sofia.
Thank you, Caterina. Well, we enter in the last panel, that is the future pathways. I will start mentioning to you all our plans for commercialization and sustainability. And please, if you have any question, use the facility that you have in Zoom. Otherwise, we will understand that everything has been extremely clear. Please, Sol, could you share the presentation? Well, now I will present what we plan that will happen after TIQUE. Not what we have built during the project, but where we go from here. How the result will be used and what the road to sustainability look like. What has TIQUE generated? Well, we have already seen the next. We have already seen the two solutions that our contractor has presented, but we also have generated a portfolio of assets that go beyond individual technology. First, we have an integrated care model, que is a structured, transferable framework for managing chronic condition that has been validated with advanced heart failure through the multidisciplinary coordination in the very different schemes of the three procurers, using all the tools of patient empowerment and predictive monitoring, etc. Second, and it has been described by Rossana, we have a value-based healthcare framework that link clinical outcome, patient experience, care coordination, all these components that we mentioned in my previous presentation that are mandatory for future scale-up of the solution developed during the PCP. And third, we have a replicable 5-phase methodology for translating health system needs into functional digital health requirements, based on which we will generate a publication for the broader use of the methodology. These three assets share a core principle that is that integrated care is fundamentally a people process supported by digital tools, but the focus should not go to the technology, but to all the rest where people plays a role. Next. On the technology side, of course, you have already seen our two solution, Platform TIQUE, which is now in its regulatory roadmap, and that will extend its pilot in Avellino. and TIQUE-V, which has already got a 5-year contract, as it has been mentioned, with Utrecht to explode what has been developed during TIQUE. And well, we are very happy of the evolution and the expectation of both consortia, and in this case, I think within that the PCP did its job. Next. So what are the buyers doing now? Well, we have already listened to some ideas, but basically Hospital Sant Pau is trying to move into a PPI to take TIQUE, to scale TIQUE to other conditions and to other hospitals. Avellino is focusing on extending the real-world piloting to generate a robust evidence before the institutional integration, and on formalizing the remote monitoring within their standard heart failure care pathways. For them, TIQUE was a first digital structure experience, and the next step will be to embed it into their overall solution. In Västerbotten, they are currently overloaded and concentrating the resources into their new electronic health record system. And their focus is to integrate TIQUE learning into their future healthcare design and aligning with the national health digital strategies in place that are ready to re-engage when the institutional capacity allows them to do so. We had three very different contexts, 3 very different timelines, but they all share the final direction where we are going. So next, please. The central message of this presentation is that the PCP is a step, is not a destination, is not an end, is a mean, is a way to move on for contractors and procurers in their own roadmap of adopting and developing integrated care into the healthcare system. Sorry. And the logic is sequential. The PCP reduces the technological and the conceptual risk, and the PPI reduces the organizational and financial risk. Together, they enable the systemic transformation, but this transition is not automatic. Mainly for 3 reasons. The first, the PCP are not designed for long clinical trial. They are designed for validating concepts and validating technology. So the evidence generated is operational, but is not sufficient to generate long-term outcome evidence. Second, the public healthcare organizations operate under a strict annual budget cycle with limited investment flexibility. And third, adopting integrated digital care requires cross-organizational coordination, multi-year commitment, and upfront investment. And at the same time, the financial returns will come progressively and often in different institutions than those who are currently paid for the investment. All this creates a difficult structure that needs to be managed. The model we propose is to use the PCP for innovation, design, and validation, and the PPI for adoption and institutional scaling. And then ultimately, the integrated care transformation will be a systemic outcome. Next. So what needs to be in place for that transition to happen? Well, we can classify it in 5 dimensions, all of which must be aligned. Indeed, we need evidence maturity, mostly clinical, other sometimes operational. So we need real-world observation beyond the PCP life cycle. Regulatory readiness, well, regulatory is usually a significant barrier that need to be planned and processed, but is something that could be done. You know, the European regulation is broad for health technologies. Then we have the organizational capacity. We need to define a clear governance for the virtual care center adapted to each of the places, to define new professional roles, to manage the change, to motivate all the involved people. And a critical lesson from TIQUE is that the co-design shapes the solution, but it doesn't eliminate the deployment friction. Protected timeline and leadership commitments are basic components, not negotiable. The financial sustainability is another dimension that needs to be managed, and the alignment with the reimbursement model and the budget cycle with the value-based framework that has been defined as the foundation for outcome-oriented contracting is, again, one more challenge. And finally, the interoperability, understood in a broad sense, both technical and organizational, must be designed explicitly, not treated as a passive compliance. And from TIQUE, we want to wish to all the innovation ecosystem in Europe to make the best use possible of PCP and to get successful and powerful results that motivate and high impact into European healthcare system. Now let's see if we have questions to manage here. Well, it seems that we don't have questions to address, so then we can go to finish the event. Caterina, could you please take the floor to say the last words to our
Yes. Well, I don't know, Guillem, there is any question in the chat?
Well, if anyone wants to do any question, they can just raise their hands.
Only to close, I will say again that it has been a long journey, but very challenging and interesting for all of us. We have had the opportunity to know better each other, and also I want to thank everybody for the dedication and for the support during the whole process, and also to the two contractors that I think they develop it, and we could test two very different and complementary solutions that both answered our challenge, but they are so different that this means that innovation is there, and I hope for them to be very successful in giving these interesting solutions into the market. And if there is no question additional, thank you very much. Again, thank you to the European Commission for their support, and see you soon, I suppose. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.